This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Second hour Money Moves coming at you from downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino, Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Remember, if you missed any of the show, you can always listen to Money Moves in podcast form, wherever you get your podcast. You can listen on your own time. Also, while you're there, you can check out Pod to the Futures, Hardwood Handicappers, give JVT a little bump there with all of the shows that you're working on. Money Moves, it's a great one. It's the top tier.
There's no hockey podcast coming?
Nobody's asked. What's a girl to do?
Have you presented the idea?
Once upon a time. I wasn't asked.
You're sitting here saying nobody's asking. I mean, you can bring it up.
I wasn't asked. What's a girl to do?
Mitch Moss volunteered me for Pod to the Futures, Like,
these
things happen.
You're so grateful. Still to come this hour, we'll get into the 9-game NBA card. Short slate in the NHL, just 3 games, but certainly some money to be made potentially. We'll have West Coast bias as well, as we're turning what was a college football segment, giving the West Coast some love, into college hoops, which I'm excited about. But some more news in the NFL. We obviously broke down all of the Bill Belichick Hall of Fame stuff earlier, so that's where you can check out the podcast if you want to see all of our opinions on that. But Todd Monken also hired as the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns after what was a very interesting head coaching search, to say the least. I think a lot of candidates we saw take their name out of the running for this based on what it took to be considered ultimately, the questionnaire, the essays that had to be done here. But Monken officially hired as the guy moving forward in Cleveland.
We're really going to talk about this, huh?
Yep.
So I texted Adam Burke, our managing editor, who is a big Cleveland guy, and my tweet was simply, "This has last person at the bar vibes written all over it."
Yep.
It's 3 a.m., you've got nothing going on, and there's somebody else that's there, and you're like, why not? Nobody wanted this job, I think. And I think that the Browns were aware of that, and so they just went for the first person that said yes. And then I think that ended up being Todd Monken.
Which is funny because of all the conversation about the analytical approach they have and how detailed they are in the process, that they ended up settling when all of the good, significant candidates were no longer available.
I mean, well, their process might have been sound, but I don't think it's a good job.
And that's no shade to Todd Monken.
No, sure. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I just don't think it's an attractive job. You could have the right process, but your job has to be attractive to a certain extent. Why? What is there? Okay, cool. We have Myles Garrett and a relatively solid defense. What else are we working with here at this point right now?
No.
What do I have to do? So I think that this is a tough place to play. It's a tough place to win. And I think that there's a lot more attractive jobs on this list if you're somebody. And that includes, by the way, the one spot that is still available of the 2 out here in Las Vegas with the Raiders, because at the very least, the organization might be dysfunctional. You might have a shadow owner that's a media member, but at the end of the day, you have the first overall pick, and that is something that might be a little bit attractive to some. But it's getting dicey, dude, because tell you what, there are very clear signs that these teams are trying to keep their guys.
Yes.
The Seahawks are very much trying to keep Kubiak there to give him a ton of money. I think the Broncos have a vacant offensive coordinator position for a reason, because they wanted to promote Davis Webb.
For anyone who missed it, they just fired Joe Lombardi. So, you have to imagine that thought process is to elevate Webb.
Yeah, absolutely. And the report came out yesterday that I think 3 other teams threw their hat in the ring to lure him away as an offensive coordinator. So the Raiders might be on the short end of the stick when the music stops playing, and they might have to settle for somebody as well. So we'll see if the allure of getting Fernando Mendoza, and, I don't want to be mean, but there also might be the theory, Stormy, that what if some of these guys, I mentioned this the other day, but I'll mention the inverse of this. What if some of these guys don't like Fernando Mendoza as a quarterback? What if they don't want to hitch their wagon as successful head coach to Fernando Mendoza? And that maybe is ultimately why they would pass on taking the Raiders.
And I would say, quite frankly, and you would know better than me as somebody who covers the Raiders as often as you do, that is this a team that's ready for a quarterback right now either? They have a lot of flaws, a lot of other places.
I mean, I think you can make the argument, yes, in that if you look at the offense, they have Genty, they have Bowers, they have some guys that they at least
you have a running back with no offensive line.
Well, right. I mean, with the first overall, that's the question is, are you going to supplement the other positions through free agency and then build them up, through the draft? Are you going to be able to hit them through the draft is the other question. At the very least, you can make, I think, a small argument that, hey, he's got some pieces around him. He's not going to go in there with a bare cupboard of skill position talent. But it's more to your point, the offensive line in front of them is probably not going to be particularly great.
Coming from a place in Indiana where they invested so much in the front and you had all the protection and time in the world to make plays, it's a very different situation that you're going into in the NFL.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Sorry.
No, you're right. I would agree with you.
This is a team that has a lot of issues. That said, we had the graphic up on the screen for those of you who are with our radio audience. So Clint Kubiak is a minus 204 favorite now to be the next head coach of the Raiders. Webb sitting there at plus 488, and then we get to double digits and beyond after that. So at least in terms of the market, they certainly think it's going to be Kubiak coming over from the Broncos.
I think the Raiders want him. I think the question is just will they be able to get him?
Okay. Meanwhile, we did have a couple head coaches introduced yesterday. Kevin Stefanski with the Atlanta Falcons, Mike McCarthy with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we played the one soundbite from McCarthy yesterday discussing his thought process in wanting Aaron Rodgers to stay. But I hadn't seen this clip yet at that point when we came on the air. Here is McCarthy just reacting overwhelmingly so with emotion to landing this job.
I understand and embrace the responsibility, the privilege, and the weight that comes with this stewardship. This city, this franchise, this fan base means the world to me because Pittsburgh's my world, and it's just awesome to be back here.
Really emotional. Obviously, he's a Pittsburgh guy, so landing the job with such a storied franchise like this in a place that means so much to him, kind of cool.
It is. Now, who's his quarterback?
Great question.
Okay. Like, that's all fine and good. Who cares? Who's the quarterback and what's the team? Let's go.
He said on the podium, is he just saying the right things?
Yes, of course he is.
Leadership wants to hear. Because he said definitely when asked if he would like to have Aaron Rodgers back.
I mean, look, at these press conferences, they don't say anything. There's no winning a press conference. Guys that have lost press conferences have gone on to be somewhat decent head coaches. Like, these things don't matter. So, okay, that's great. I'm glad
Everybody
you're happy.
thought Nick Sirianni was crazy. He was talking about the flowers in the garden, and then he wins the Super Bowl, and everything's fine.
Well, he still might kind of
and then
be
people hate him again.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, what's the team look like? What are you? And what's your quarterback? Who are you signing? Like, I mean, you look at some of these teams, there are coaches that have been hired that I think move the needle for you to the point where you would be considering betting on them from a future standpoint. I'm a big Kevin Stefanski guy. Adding this far out, you want to tie your money up in that range, but investing in the Falcons to win an NFC, I think that's a viable choice for you at this point right now, because I'm a believer that Kevin Stefanski is a very good offensive mind that is finally able to get some semblance of the team that many of us thought the Falcons have been for, what do we know, 4 years, going on 4 years now?
I don't know. He had a Pro Bowl quarterback and didn't succeed in Cleveland. That said,
he got fired for developing a Pro Bowl quarterback. Short end of the stick.
With Stefanski, he and Matt Ryan, who is now, of course, in a higher position. Matthew, yes, we got to make sure that that's going to catch on, right? Mm-hmm. Now that he's in a position of leadership,
correct.
He's not going to go by Matt anymore, Matthew Ryan. On the podium yesterday with Stefanski, now the new head man in Atlanta, on how tough they want this team to be.
We wanted a detailed, tough, physical football team. On offense, we want an offense that has the ability to run the football, that is going to be explosive with the pass game off of the run. On defense, we're going to stop the run. We're going to be physical against the run. In the pass game, we're going to affect the quarterback physically, and we're going to affect him mentally as well, with disguise, with the way that we play coverage. And then on special teams, we were looking for a unit that was incredibly detailed.
The easy thing is to talk about it. It's very, very easy to sit up here and talk about it. We will be about that work. We will put in the work, and it's going to be hard work. We'll put in the work to being a smart football team, to playing a smart brand of football. We will earn that toughness.
How's their quarterback situation right now?
Atlanta?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're probably still telling Stefanski that he's got to try it with Michael Penix. So I think we feel
injury.
Yeah, I think you feel pretty confident that Penix is going to be the guy going into next year. It's somewhat similar, not as bad, but it is somewhat similar to the Colts in that you just have to find out what you have at some point. And so the sample size hasn't been big enough for him. He's been a little injured. He obviously didn't finish out the year. So you've got to see in this offensive system whether or not you can put something together with him. The skill positions talent is there. We've said it 1,000 times. If I told you right now that Michael Penix emerged to be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, wouldn't you say that this is a team that can win the division and make a push for the Super Bowl?
Sure, especially because of what they were able, not only with the skill position talent around him, but what they were able to do to fix the pass rush last year. To go from one of the worst in the league to one of the best was pretty impressive for them to turn that around.
Yeah, so I think that there's a chance that this is a team that is in the market will reflect this when we get all these futures odds. I know we have odds right now to win the Super Bowl for next year, but when we get to divisions, things like that, I would expect that the Falcons are going to be up there, and maybe now is the time to kind of dive into next year's Super Bowl. Falcons right now, let me look at this, 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. That, to me, you're not tying your money up for a year at like 2-1. At 80-1, might be worth putting in the bottom of the account.
That's a division I think will be really interesting to see what the initial odds are put out in the NFC South.
Your Panthers will not be favored.
I know don't call them my Panthers.
They'll be like the third choice.
Excuse me. Speaking of Super Bowl
Look at that
odds,
choked up. Relax.
No.
Here's my question: will the Saints be ahead of the Panthers to win the Super or to win the division?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Panthers are on the way up.
I think they might be.
Just saying. Speaking of the Super Bowl odds, though, for next year, we've still got the big game coming up in just over a week and a half. And with that, we've got a big game deal to match here at VSiN. In honor of Super Bowl 60, $60 off our VSiN Pro annual subscription right now. Sign up, use our code MONEY, MONEY. When you become a VSiN Pro annual subscriber, you get access to everything we do on the website. As the daily best bets from all of our hosts and guests, you get exclusive betting splits from both Circa and DraftKings, full access to all of our tools and data. I know you always brag about the Opta AI projections that we have now, not only in the NFL, but we have them for the NBA as well in basketball. Plus, our betting guides are going to be here soon. We've got our Super Bowl betting guide that's going to launch and the upcoming March Madness guide, because that time of year will be here before you know it. VSiN.com/subscribe. Again, promo code MONEY. That'll save you $60 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription today. VSiN.com/subscribe. Speaking of college basketball, we're going to get into that on the other side of this break. West Coast Bias College Hoops Edition. A big game in the Mountain West with my Aztecs and the Colorado State Rams, plus a few games I know you are particularly interested in, including UCLA and Oregon.
Yes.
So we'll get to it all coming up next on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM, Channel 158, Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. What's so funny?
So the news today, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo has officially requested that he finds a new home.
Yes.
Chris Mannix, who covers the NBA for Sports Illustrated, he's done it for a long time. According to him, the Warriors are willing to offer a package. You ready? You sitting down? This is going to blow your socks off. Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, and picks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. How quickly do you hang up that phone?
Very quickly.
Yeah, come on now.
Very quickly.
What are we doing?
What's that going to do for you right now?
I mean, like you said, the picks thing is, there's not going to be value in those picks if they're Warriors picks. So I just don't really understand what that is. Now, the Jimmy Butler thing, you have to match salary, so that's got to be part of it as well. And Butler would be, I'm going to double check to see what his contract is.
You have to match salary and a guy coming off a torn ACL.
Well, that's Butler's value in terms of being an actual player that would contribute isn't as great as him being an expiring contract next year.
Fair.
So in theory, you get him, he recovers, he plays relatively well, and then on expiring, you can maybe flip him somewhere, whatever it is. But that's not the biggest deal. To me, it's just what are the future assets? Jonathan Kuminga and some Warriors picks for a team that's going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo aren't really that great. So we're seeing some trades getting thrown out there. Clearly, the Warriors very much want Giannis. They owe it to Steph Curry to, I would say, either trade him to a team that can go win one or do everything you can to build a team that you could realistically win it. And Giannis and Steph together would be very fun. We'll see.
It'd be awesome for fans, but is that realistic? I don't think so.
Get it done before next Tuesday, please, because I will be in San Francisco and the Warriors will be playing the 76ers, and I would like to go and watch that. So,
you are going to go, right?
It depends. I have obligations. I'm a professional. Work comes first, and then if I have time.
At night? Do you have evening obligations?
You have to network, Stormy.
Oh, sorry. Forgive me.
I mean, I do have evening obligations. I have to pay attention to games and get ready for my show with my wonderful co-host from 11 to 1.
Yes, because you are just like Kevin Stefanski about that work.
That's right. Grind.
Last night, by the way, in college hoops, Nebraska undefeated no more.
Yep.
We did get the cover, though, so the flu bug or whatever it was didn't seem to impact them too much as close game in Ann Arbor taking on Michigan Wolverines. So glad we got that through. And kudos to you. You had that whole talk about, okay, Kent State couldn't do it against Miami of Ohio, but maybe an opportunity last night, and you did get there.
So the flu was true. Rank Mast, whoever played, he ended up not playing, and he had the illness. So there was something there for Nebraska. But ultimately,
it didn't have an impact the way that.
Yeah, I mean, look, they lost the game, but they started out red hot from three, and that's ultimately kind of carried them the rest of the way. After scoring 98 points in the first half, they combined for 49 in the second. So it was quite a different second half for both teams here. But, I mean, I think the big picture takeaway is it's twofold. But for Michigan specifically, again, it's a team that is power rated way higher than the way it's actually been playing. This is the 7th consecutive game for Michigan that they have not covered. They got bet up to 12, and that was probably the Moss news and the fact that got pushed up. But either way, Michigan is a team that, while they are 19-1, the market is very much still clearly power rating them as a team that blew out your Aztecs, went on that run in the the non-conference portion of their schedule. The reality is that Michigan's a very good team. They might be the best team in the country, but they're playing more like a top 25-ish team, much closer to 25 than they are to 1. And the market is kind of refusing to budge on this at this point right now. So, hey, opportunity for bettors, but like you said, they got it done. They were inside of that number. No real risk at all whatsoever. And it's a good in-game betting opportunity. We were texting about this yesterday. The middle didn't get there. But if you took 11.5, if you took 12, at halftime you could have came back and put a little bit on Michigan -6 and tried to shoot for some kind of a middle. And at times it's kind of what you're doing, what you're looking for in some of these games. I was hoping for the number to be a little bit shorter in the second half. So cut into it a little bit with what I had on Nebraska. But either way, good middle opportunity, decent sweat. Michigan gets the win, but does not cover last night.
And now we look forward to tonight, where we will do our first official college basketball edition of West Coast Bias, giving some West Coast teams a little bit of love when, all these other schools are getting the love. Although I will say in college basketball, like the West Coast Big 12 teams and stuff, there's at least something there with the Big 12 being as good as they are right now. However, we're going to start in our favorite conference, the Mountain West Conference, where Colorado State and San Diego State are going head-to-head, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern on FS1. So you East Coasters, stay up late for this one. You're going to enjoy it, get a little bit of a show. SDSU opened a 9.5-point favorite down to 8.5, 8. The total bet down as well from 141.5 to as low as 138.5 right now. And this is an Aztecs team, JVT, that's been really solid since the start of conference play. The only loss they've had in the Mountain West so far was that heartbreaker that was a little bit controversial at the ending against Grand Canyon on the road. They bounced back at the win and cover at UNLV on Saturday, 5-3 ATS the last 8 games. What do you think about this number specifically at Viejas Arena against the Rams?
Yeah, I lean a little bit towards San Diego State. I think it's probably to cop out a little bit and say it's probably right where it should be. San Diego State has been a team that's been pretty impressive for the most part. You mentioned the controversial end to the Grand Canyon game that was coming off of the win against New Mexico. Having watched New Mexico in person last night, that is a wildly impressive team with the way that they coach, the way that they defend, the skill position that they have as well, the talent that they have, on the floor. I think it's a pretty good sequence for this team to play New Mexico the way they did, have a chance to beat Grand Canyon, and then come out here and absolutely bludgeon themselves, a UNLV team that have been playing pretty good basketball. And now you get to go back home with a little bit of extra time between now and Saturday. I think it's a relatively solid spot for San Diego State to get this done against CSU. Colorado State has been fine. They're going to play at a really slow pace. They're going to take a ton of threes. That is how you ratchet up the variance, and that is how you maybe spring some of these upset as well. And Aztecs, shockingly enough, for an Aztecs group, they do want to play a little bit quicker than what we're kind of used to. This year, they're an up-and-down team. They're a big, long team, but not in terms of physical size. But I think the offense is good enough here. Good at cutting folks off from the rim as well. If you look at average two-point distance by opponents, we're talking about 6.4 in conference play. Colorado State, they want to get to within 4 feet of the basket. For the season, their average two-point attempt distance, about 5.5. It's a 10-year top 100 mark. They want to do what all of these analytically sound teams want to do. They want to take free throws, they want to take threes, and they want to get to the rim. If you can cut off the rim for Colorado State, which I think San Diego State can do, you're going to be in a pretty good spot here to get this done. So lean toward the Aztecs tonight as 8.5-point favorites.
Ken Palm does have SDSU -9.
Yeah.
Their total also 145, which is interesting that we've seen so much under money come in on this game. I mentioned 138.5 where we're sitting right now. I know there were a few games that you had significant interest in, So where do you want to go next?
Well, I think one of the interesting games tonight is going to be in the Big Ten, where UCLA is taking on Oregon here, and how bad this is going to get for the Ducks. This has been a pretty interesting slide for Oregon right now. They come in having lost 6 straight, and we talked about this on Sunday when we were on Live Bet Sunday, but I kind of mused like, hey, is this maybe the time that we're going to get a buy low opportunity for Oregon? You're taking on Washington on the road. It's about an 8.5, 9-point spread, and they go out there and they lose, and they lose big, 72-57. This is a program that is on the skids right now for Oregon, and for UCLA, off a pretty good run. They beat Purdue outright, and then they go and they beat Northwestern, who comes out to make that trip. You got to take a road trip out here to Oregon. It's not a really far trip, but is this the ultimate buy low spot? Ducks have not been overtly competitive at home. Lost by 10 at home to Michigan. They got bludgeoned a little bit by about 16 or so to Michigan State. But maybe this is an opportunity to get it done here. But this Oregon offense, it has not been good. It has been a team that has been not good with their first shot offense. They've been overly reliant, if I could speak, on getting offensive boards and second chance opportunities. And that is something that maybe you could get here. One of the quiet issues that UCLA has had, if you look at their statistical profile, 17th in Big Ten play in defensive rebounding rate. Opponents in conference are grabbing 37% of their missed shots. And so if you get an Oregon team that can get second chance opportunities, maybe they can stay inside of this number. That's been a little bit of an issue for UCLA.
They're 1-8 in conference play so far, riding a 7-game or 6-game losing streak coming into this one. And over that losing streak, they've only actually even covered in one of those games, and it was against Michigan, where they still lost by double digits, but they were an 18.5-point dog in that game. They were getting 10 against Michigan State, lose by 16. They're getting 7.5 against Washington, lose by 15. 10.5 to Nebraska, lose by 35. So it's not close in more of these games than not.
And I'd say too, I like the direction the total is moving as well. We saw this open like 140 or so. This is down to 135.5. UCLA in conference play, they're last in terms of tempo. They're averaging like 63 possessions per game. Oregon plays relatively slow as well, and they've gotten a little bit slower in conference play too. So if these offenses struggle, Oregon getting quick second chance opportunities might push you over if this gets a little too low, but ultimately this should be a slow-paced, almost rock fight between the two of them. And if that's going to be the case, you should be able to get under that total, especially at 140. But I think you can make the argument still for like 136.5 or so if it's still available for you.
We also have USC getting 9.5 points at Iowa, total 141.5 in that one. San Francisco getting that same number at Santa Clara tonight, total 150.5. A handful of other games. Anything else that caught your attention?
I think situationally, do you say it's a letdown for USC? You went out to Madison, got a win over the weekend against Wisconsin, and a strong one at that, had to come back. And now you have to go on a second consecutive road trip to take on Iowa, a top 20 team who is themselves playing some pretty good basketball, had a 3-game losing streak, but snapped it, beat Indiana, beat Rutgers, and now here are at home against the USC squad coming off of a big road win.
We'll keep the hoops talk rolling coming up in the next segment with a little NBA. We've also got 3 games on the ice to get to in the NHL. But remember, as you're sitting down in front of your TV, you're trying to get some grub while you watch these games, Omaha Steaks is the place to be, the official sponsor of tailgating this season right now. When you spend $129, you can score 2 pounds of fully cooked chicken wings plus 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com/VSIN. That's omahasteaks.com/VSIN.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
We've got a few really good games coming up in the association tonight as we welcome you back to Money Moves on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, the national doubleheader. Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers taking on Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. We've also got Wemby and the Spurs taking on the Rockets, although we just got some breaking... Go ahead.
No, you're right. No, I was just waiting for you to finish.
We just got some breaking news on the Rockets on the injury standpoint. You want to give that update?
Yeah. So Steven Adams has been out, missing some time here. He is going to be done for the season, according to Shams Charania and others. It sounds like he has undergone season-ending surgery on his left ankle. So people might listen to that and go, like, who cares? It's a center. Look, a big identity point for the Houston Rockets has been offensive rebounding and playing their 2 bigs together. And the fact that he might not be is not going to be available for them is a pretty big blow. Their offensive efficiency in the half court has been failing a little bit in recent weeks. It's been part of the reason why they've looked pretty mortal over the last couple of weeks. And the only reason you do it is, I'll use a hockey reference, you play some dump and chase offense, which is throw it at the rim, and if you can't get a cleanup, get a second chance opportunity for you, and get it out there. So it's a pretty big blow for a team. They do have some depth at center. They do have obviously Alperen Şengün and Capella. Capella's really not the guy that he used to be. So I think it's a pretty big blow for this team overall. And remember as well, Stormy, Fred VanVleet still on the mend with his season-ending injury too. So this is a team that is up against it from a financial standpoint. Can't really add. I believe they can't add at all given their status financially. So just the hits keep coming for a Houston Rockets team that has looked like a more and more a middle-of-the-pack group. And, very quietly, I don't think it's anything to really worry about. But Kevin Durant's been just chirping a little bit more. And so now you wonder about just the overall mental status of a team that coming into the year was going to be very reliant on their size and young players taking big steps forward like Amen Thompson and like Reed Shepherd. So just a pretty big blow for a team that was really relying on Steven Adams. And we'll see what that means for this team. And by the way, I think coming into today, they were 4-8 in their last 12 against the spread.
Okay.
So they had not been a very good cover team.
Meanwhile, at home, they have been great, at least winning games, and they are a 2.5-point favorite today against the Spurs, and these two of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference right now. Rockets 16-3 at home this season, best home record in the league. What do you make of at least this number against the San Antonio team?
Yeah, and that's, to me, would be the spot to lean a little bit here toward. It's funny, they're playing each other, and they do mimic each other a little bit here in the fact that they're just both not playing their best basketball. San Antonio has definitely cooled off, especially since that stretch where they had dominated the Oklahoma City Thunder for 3 games. By the way, doesn't look as special anymore, does it? Now, winning 3 straight against the Oklahoma City Thunder, considering everybody's doing it. But the market, this opened up 4, knocked it down to 2.5. I think this is a relatively fair number now. These two teams are pretty much equals to one another. 4 probably painted a picture of a squad that was slightly better than the other. But now that you're sitting at this number here, I'm looking at 2 teams that are pretty close to each other. Steven Adams out, as we mentioned. Jeremy Sohan questionable. It's relatively clean injury reports between the two. 4 I thought was playable, but now that we're down to that 2.5-point mark, depending on how you would value home court, I think that this is probably right where it should be.
Okay, then we've also got in the first part of that doubleheader, Luka, an MVP candidate, although not to you, and LeBron James taking on his former club in the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron is 9-3 in visits to Cleveland in his career, 4-2 with the Lakers in that spot. We're looking at this, Cavs a 3.5-point home favorite, 235.5. And are we to believe that what the Lakers have done recently is who they are?
I don't think so. So I put the money where the mouth is. We've talked about this a lot. Don't really believe in the Lakers. Don't think that Luka's going to win MVP. So let's back the Cavs. I laid 2.5 with them this morning. It's up to 3.5, like you mentioned. Still think that would be playable here for Cleveland. Again, let's go back and reference what we're talking about with home court and how you would measure it. I think Cleveland should rate as a better team at this point right now. I think it's 11 out of 15 that they've won. Yes, we're looking at an injury report that does not have Evan Mobley out there on the floor, but still you're going to have Jarrett Allen, for the size. You don't really have an option for Donovan Mitchell and this backcourt as well. We know that Darius Garland's not going to play, but just thought the number was short. And this team in L.A. still has its defensive issues. So in the midst of a long road trip, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think it's a good spot to back Cleveland, who's been playing slightly better basketball at this point right now. So put the money where the mouth is, laid the short number here with Cleveland, and do think that this is still playable. And to give some context to what we're talking about here, Lakers in the midst of that long road trip that they have about this time of year, it's going to be their 5th consecutive road game. Still have a couple coming up against Washington and New York. So I think this is a good opportunity for a road-weary team after getting a big win on the road against Chicago and having won 4 out of 5 and covered those, that they'll revert back to form and look a little bit more like the team that was out in L.A. last week and got beat up by the Clippers.
I thought this was kind of an interesting note on the Lakers, who have played pretty decently on the road in general this season compared to last year where they really struggled. Yep. They're 12-1 in road games that came down to single digits, but have also lost 15 or more 17 times. 7 times on the road. Yeah, you either win a close game or lose in a blowout.
And that's what do you think is the more sustainable?
More
Correct, right? You can't consistently, you should not consistently, I should say. You should not consistently win in these clutch games like the Lakers had. It's what we've talked about a ton. It goes back to, it's actually the inverse, again, oddly enough, it's the inverse of your Hornets. Mm-hmm. The Hornets
Who are in action tonight as well.
They are. When they lose, they're losing these tight games, and then when they win, they're blowing opponents out.
Right.
So it's kind of the odd inverse of that. And so we'll see. I mean, again, how many times have we invoked it with Charlotte, that stretch where they lost 3 straight games, all on the final shot, and they have the inverse record of the Lakers and yet a better point differential. It's the same thing there. Water finds its level at some point. We were starting to see it a little bit. We should say that the Lakers, out of all these teams, are probably going to have a better record in clutch time just because you have the shot creator that you have in Luka Doncic or LeBron James that will help you, Austin Reeves when he's healthy. But generally speaking, when you play this level of defense and find yourself in these tight games, the coin should not go heads as many times as it has for the Lakers.
Speaking of the Hornets, they are favorites again today on the road, taking on the John Morant-less Memphis Grizzlies team, 230.5 the total.
So what do we do? I'm going to ask you. I mean, so we posed the question on Monday.
You should win this game,
right.
But will you?
It's the similar question to what we posed on Monday. Like you said, you were taking on the 76ers, who did not have their 2 big pieces out there. If you are a team to be taken seriously, it is a game that you should win. And they blew them out.
By 37.
And now here you are. The number at some spots open, Grizzlies 1.5. You're a 2.5-point favorite on the road. We know the injury report for the Grizzlies. We know that John Morant's not out there, and the usual names and suspects that on lengthy injury report are out there as well. You are a healthy team. Only Mason Plumlee is not going to play today for the Charlotte Hornets. You've got all 3 of your big pieces that we know statistically are part of an elite lineup. I would be tempted to say that the Hornets should be able to get this done, and they're short favorites, but I am a little hesitant as a road favorite in a role that is somewhat unfamiliar to them that they would actually be able to do it.
And coming off of a blowout win, too.
Sure.
That's always one of those things, in my head at least. Last couple minutes here as we kind of turn our attention to the NHL as well.
No.
Best bets moving forward. What? You have another game? Oh, sorry. Okay, what
I just want to point out, we have a very big game in the Atlantic Division tonight. Okay. The New York Knicks are taking on the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors, who I have backed to win this division at a very long price.
That's a short spread game, too.
Yes, and they find themselves taking on the Knicks, who are on the second leg of a back-to-back. It's a good situational spot for my Toronto Raptors. I will be on Hardwood Handicappers tomorrow, so hopefully I can go in tomorrow with a victory for my Raptors so I can chide and mock a Zach Cohen who told me that the Raptors could not do it, and yet here they are, a short favorite at home, just a game back from the Boston Celtics. And the Knicks are in front of them in the division as well. So this is a game that looms large. I will be rooting for the Toronto Raptors to get this done. This is why I like to bet divisions, too, and stuff like this. I mean, you've technically got action in a lot of these games. So I will be pulling for the Raptors. Do think they can get it done as a short favorite, but we'll see if that will be the case.
And forgive me as well. I think that you said to me in the commercial break that Orlando-Miami was an interesting game to you as well tonight.
It's just whether or not the Magic are going to get their heads out of their rear ends and start to turn things around here. They've lost now 4 straight. They had that baseball set home and home with the Cavaliers, and they got waxed in both of them. Lost 119-105 at home. They went out to Cleveland, lost 114-98. We've played the clips of them going back to that blowout loss to the Charlotte Hornets, and Paolo Banchero getting more and more frustrated with how this is going. Franz Wagner continues to be listed as out as well. But, it's a long injury report for Miami. We know that Tyler Hero's not going to play, and there's a ton of questionables. Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, Kelly Ware, all questionable to play for Miami. But this is more about whether or not Orlando is just a team that is worth playing against at this point. And market would tend to agree. I also think maybe there's some positive news for these guys that are questionable, but Miami opened up 2.5, up to 3.5. This is just more of a car crash game. Just, when you drive by and you can't really help but stare and see what's going on. I think this is one of those things where is Orlando going to continue to slide here because they have been awful. And the vibes don't really seem to be great, and that could really sink a team that was supposed to be a contender in the Eastern Conference.
You'll be rubbernecking this game.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it, sure. I mean, there's a lot of – today's a good sports day. It's a short card in hockey, but you know me, I've got some interest in it.
Yeah.
A lot of good games in the association, some sneaky good games that we talked about on the West Coast later tonight. So we should be watching all of these.
No doubt about it. I am excited for the hockey slate today. I like it when it's a short hockey slate because I actually can focus and watch all of them, and it's a good opportunity too for teams that you don't typically watch. Like, I'm more of a Western Conference person, but if there are Eastern Conference teams that I don't get to see as much, like, that's always nice to be able to get a read on a team you haven't seen much of. So lots of fun stuff. We will get into that coming up next. We'll have our best bets going into tonight. I know you've got hockey and NBA plays. We can recap how we did yesterday as well. So stick around. We're going to wrap up this Wednesday edition of Money Moves coming up after this with our plays of the day. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
I know that this is a topic that has been very important today and that you feel passionately about. We have heard from Robert Kraft, if you would like the statement.
Sure.
This is from, I always mispronounce this, one of your colleagues to an extension over at ESPN, Mike Reese? That covers the...
I think it's Reese.
Reese, I believe so too. For ESPN NFL Nation, covers the Patriots for a long time. Robert Kraft on the reported omission of Bill Belichick for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, quote, "Whatever perceptions may exist about any personal difference between Bill and I strongly believe Bill Belichick's record and body of work speak for themselves. As head coach of the New England Patriots for more than 2 decades, he set the standard for on-field excellence, preparation, and sustained success in the free agency and salary cap era of the National Football League. He is the greatest coach of all time, and he unequivocally deserves to be a unanimous first-ballot Pro Football Hall of Famer." End statement.
Spoken like a man who knows he's getting in this year. No,
Sure.
just kidding.
Maybe. We did learn, apparently, that Eli Manning also will not be in this year.
Yeah, I hadn't seen. It's interesting how this stuff trickles out. I would like to know how come it's one by one and we don't just know who all it's going to be.
I mean, I'm sure this time around, because this was such a big story, some reporters were probably sniffing around, and then maybe you get like some confirmation while you're trying to hunt down different information. But it seems like Eli will not make it in.
All right. Again, last segment of the day here. So let's do our Tuesday betting recap, looking ahead to tonight to what we have. I will say the Golden Knights Montreal result was very frustrating for both of us because I know you dove in on the over 6.5 as well. We had 7 total power plays in this game. Neither team converted. For Vegas, that first goal scored in the first until about midway through the second period. They just didn't do anything. Yeah. So it was a very frustrating result. We at least did get Cole Caulfield. His anytime goal comes through. The Sharks win again. Huge day for Macklin Celebrini. We get Nebraska to cover the 11.5, and the Panthers deserved better than their result against the Mammoth, but that is a loss as well. So 3-3 on the day for me yesterday, but still profitable. Thank you, Cole Caulfield, for the plus money price on that goal.
Yep. For me yesterday, a winning day in college basketball, but the day overall does not matter because the Golden Knights go down with that total over 6.5. But Nebraska gets there, UMass gets there, and then Purdue minus 4.5. We did not mention this game in our recap of college basketball from last night, but how about the Boilermakers on this slide? Go out there and lose outright to Indiana. So I think it was Wes Reynolds who had a good tweet and a joke on Twitter is sometimes Indiana, even though it's a football school, can have good basketball results. Mm-hmm. So Hoosiers get it done there, but a shocking slide for the Boilermakers in the midst of the season. And UMass almost blew it, Stormy. They were up the whole game. They start to let go of the rope a little bit. At one point, late in the second half, I believe they were trailing by 7, if I remember correctly. I was kind of watching that while I was in press row. But I thought they were going to blow it. And ultimately, they did not. UMass gets there, stays inside 9.5. But Miami, Ohio continues to pull the rabbit out of their hat, and they are still undefeated. So we'll see if we continue to maybe play against them. We'll see if that actually happens.
Also, one thing just to follow up that Golden Knights Montreal result, the Canadians actually fired their goalie coach this morning, Eric Raymond, which coincidentally, and granted, they've had a lot of goaltending issues, and we detailed that in our preview of the game yesterday, but it was actually on a day where Jacob Dobish played pretty well.
Sure.
So it's just interesting timing, at least, for them. But go ahead. What do you got tonight?
Yep. So I'm gonna foray into betting hockey a little bit more regularly, and this is going to be a learning experience for me. So first lesson, I don't know how to read the market. The Blue Jackets are $1. I laid them at $1.30 earlier today, and they are about minus 118 now. But looking at the scheduling spot for this team, they're on 3 days of rest, and they're 6-1-0 in their last 7 games. Philadelphia hasn't really been playing particularly well. 2-6-2 over their last couple of games as well. Really is about the scheduling spot. I feel like just talking to folks who actually handicap hockey and looking at the league from outside, it seems that any time you can get some extended rest, it would be a pretty good thing given the way the schedule is broken down right before the Winter Olympics. So we'll see if that is the case. But market not buying in, thought $1.30 was a little too much. So we will see. But laid that with the Blue Jackets and Cavaliers minus 2.5 tonight against the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a put your money where your mouth is spot. Yeah. Don't believe in the Lakers. Think they're a team that's got a lot of flaws on defense. Think they'll have some trouble with this Cavaliers offense and in the midst of a long road trip themselves. So Blue Jackets on the money line and Cavaliers minus 2.5 tonight.
I'm with you on the Jackets. I did get the minus 115 though, so don't hate me.
Do you have any better analysis than what I had?
Pretty similar, to be honest with you, because I think the rest advantage is significant off of a dominant performance against a really good team in the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that that's more of who they are. They've won, 6 6 of their last 7. The Flyers, I think, caught the Avalanche on just a wonky night on Friday. The Avs have had this kind of up and down stretch recently. They beat them 7-3 that night. Aside from that, dropped 8 of their other 9 games they've played since January 8th, 6 of those losses on the puck line. So it just felt like a good opportunity. I've told you numerous times I do not like the Flyers very much.
Yeah.
And so Blue Jackets just seem to be in a good position. I'm also on the Avs on the 60-minute line today. So they had a start to the season 31-2-7. They're 4-4-2 down the stretch, 6 losses in their last 10, which included just weird losses to, I mentioned the Flyers, and to Nashville as well. They are still the best team in the league. They're 79 points, plus 300 favorites to win the Stanley Cup. They're coming in off a win over Toronto over the weekend, 4-1, and I think that's more of the version that we're going to get here in Ottawa, taking on a Senators team that is in a pretty obvious letdown spot, I think, after just this incredible output of offense that isn't typical for them. They're on the second half of So this is a team that's just been so hot and cold, and I feel like in their recent sample, this is a night where they're going to go cold. I looked at the 60-minute line, I looked at the puck line, I looked at the over for the game as well. I think we're going to get a lot of goals on both sides of this. I didn't end up playing the team total, but I think over 6.5 is worthwhile, and bringing the Avs down to just playing that 60-minute line, hope that they win and not have to go to overtime is good. For Ottawa, James Reimer is confirmed in net today, 3.32 goals against average, 8.71 save percentage in his 4 starts. And for as good as the Senators' power play has been, they're 3rd in the NHL in penalty kill percentage and power play goals allowed. First meeting with the Avs, 8-2 final.
All right. Like it.
What else?
Nothing in the New York game?
No, I did. And so this is kind of fun because it's the start of a back-to-back home and home with both of these
baseball
teams.
Set between the two.
Market moving away from the Islanders on this one, which I think is just good for us to be able to get a better price on it. I laid -122. You see -120 on the Islanders at DraftKings right now, and I think makes sense with David Rittich in net instead of the odds-on Vezina favorite Ilya Sorokin right now. He will start tomorrow in the Garden as the second half of this back-to-back. Rittich, I know, has struggled the last few starts. He's dropped 3 straight, 4 of his last 5, allowed nearly 3.5 goals per game in that span, and yet I still like them at this price. This is the 3rd of what will be 4 meetings this season. In his first meeting with the Rangers, had a 27-save shutout last month. Both of the games that the Islanders and Rangers have played this year have been shutouts in favor of the Islanders, and the Rangers are just really going through it right now injury-wise. They don't have Igor Shesterkin. Adam Fox is, I guess, doing better, but still not in a position to get out there on the ice. They dropped 8 of their last 10 games, 11-14.
Dude.
Jonathan Quick just got a win the other day. So it's just not a team you can count on at all right now.
Yeah. I added to the list of my futures in the NHL, which are not going to go well, because I tried to buy low on the Rangers, and then they continue to slide. You know how many times they've won consecutive games since the start of December?
How many?
Once.
It's just so bad.
They've been really bad.
And kind of an interesting situation here, too, because the Islanders have been making moves. They actually bring in former Ranger Carson Soucy on the D-line. He's going to make his Rangers debut, and Andre Palat from the Devils making his debut with the Islanders tonight after their respective trades. So a lot of things just point to the Islanders for me, even with the goaltending situation that they're in.
Cool. Like it.
Did I play the under in this game? I can't remember.
Do you have anything else? Because I have a little bit of news.
I lean under in this game. I can't remember if I actually made the bet or not, but I think it's an under game.
Quote, everyone else is going to have to try to beat a strong Golden State offer for Giannis if it comes. That comes from Brian.
Really?
It comes from Brian Windhorst on ESPN from about 30 minutes ago. So that surprised me. I know that there is a bevy of picks that the Warriors can offer, but again, I question the value of those selections. But either way, Kuminga and a bevy of selections along with Jimmy Butler as salary maybe would be something to look out for. Now, the Warriors did come out right after Jimmy Butler got injured. I think it was quite literally the day he got hurt. He was. They were asked. I can't remember who it was up at the front office that was asked, would they trade Jimmy Butler after the injury? And it wasn't an unequivocal no. It was just one of those. Well, I haven't really thought about it. It's too early. So maybe it happens. But as from Brian Windhorst, again, everyone else is going to have to try to beat a strong Golden State offer if it comes.
And I did just check my account. I did play the under 6.5. I think because of the goaltending, you're getting a higher number than you probably should with how low-powered these offenses are.
Under 6.5 in the Islanders-Rangers games.
Yes. And when we were in the commercial break, I bet the Hornets.
Okay.
Am I going to regret this? I got 2, so I laid 2 with Charlotte against the Grizzlies tonight.
You'll regret it.
Am I going to live every time I bet them, I've lost.
Because you love the team. That's why.
Every time I bet them, I've lost.
I feel good about it. Win number 20 tonight.
Let's do it. Okay, that's a wrap for us.
They'll win by 2, though.
We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. At least I didn't have to deal with the hook because at least I'll get my money back if that is the case. Follow the money, though, coming up next.
They'll win by 1.
With Mitch and Paul. I hate you. You're dead to me. On today's show, Sal Paolantonio going to share his thoughts for the Super Bowl. Then keep it locked as well a little bit later. VSiN Primetime with our guy Scott Seidenberg and cashing out with Dustin Sweetelson in the nightcap. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.